everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make these super simple pumpkin coasters. And as you can see, they can be made in many different ways. This is our original pattern. It's the round coaster with the edge to keep your cup from slipping around with little feet and hands. It has a stem and the little curl, and then the happy little pumpkin face. Well, we decided to tweak it up a little bit and give you some more options. If you don't care for this edge, you can make your pumpkin without the edge. It's made exactly the same, just eliminated that edge. Round, little feet, little face, stem, and curl. Well, if you don't like the little hands and feet, you can make them just round. This one is just round with the stem and curl and no edge, and this one has the edge to keep your cup from slipping if you want to do that, and then of course the curl and the stem. I'm going to show you how to make the original one and then tell you also how to do them the other ways if you don't want it like the original. Lots of options there. And of course, this pattern is on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. What you're going to need to make some pumpkin coasters is, of course, some yarn. I'm going to be using this kind of rusty orange from Crafter's Secret for the body of my pumpkin. And then I'm going to use this, I love this cotton in this green. It is a sage green. And I chose this because I couldn't find a green that I like to go with this sort of rusty color. And this is the colors that it'll be, the rusty orange and the green. Now, these are number 4 cotton yarns. You can use acrylic, you can use cotton blends, or 100% cotton yarns, as long as it's a medium number 4 yarn. It's really just your preference. Acrylic yarns work great if they're more for decoration, and you're not going to be putting glasses that sweat because acrylic will not absorb the moisture. If you're going to be putting glasses like iced tea or any drinks that will sweat on these, then you're going to probably want to go with cotton. Acrylic will protect your wood surfaces and cotton will absorb, so it's sort of your choice of what you want to do. For the little pumpkin face, I am going to be using acrylic yarn. I couldn't find a black that I really like. Now, I have used the Premier black like I did on this one, and it looks cute with the variegated, but it doesn't look cute with the solid. And this green, this orange, and this black are all Premier cotton. This is your regular peaches and cream cottons. This one is what we did here, and this one here is the peaches and cream in a sort of a golden yellow, and then this of course is that. So we've used lots of different options for colors as well. We're going to be stitching with our H hook today. This is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave in your ends and attach your pieces and sew on your face. And of course you'll need your scissors. We're going to begin in the center of our pumpkin and work our way out. We'll then add this edge if you want it, and the little feet and hands if you want those. Then we'll add the stem and the little curl. And then lastly, we'll add the cute little face. All right, we're going to begin with our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 4 chains. We're going to place 9 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. These first 3 chains will count as our first double crochet. And we'll place 9 more in this 4th chain. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And we'll do this until we have a total of 10 because our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet. And again, all the coasters, no matter what size or style, not size, they're all the same size, 3.5 inches. They all have the first 3 rows the same. Alrighty, let's count, see how many I've made. Here's my chain 3 that counts as my first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. We're going to go in the top of that chain 3. Let me snug that down. There we go. Pull up a loop and pull that loop through the loop on our hook. That's our slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3. All right, so there's your first row. Now I don't have a hole in the center of mine. If you do, you can turn this over and grab your needle, thread it on your yarn. Sometimes when you do this beginning method, you'll get a little hole in the center of your coaster. And so what you do, you thread your tail of yarn on your needle and you'll just go around those row of stitches and we'll just gently pull on that. And we need to weave this in anyway, so this eliminates two things. It closes the hole, and we've already weaved it in, so we don't have to do it later. So I went back and turned the other direction, making sure that's nice and closed, and snipped off my yarn. On row 2, our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. We're going to yarn over and double crochet in that same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. And since we started with 10, on row 2, we'll have 20 double crochets. So I'm placing 2 double crochets in each of my double crochets around, and then I'll join back to my chain 3. I've stitched my 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, so I have 20 double crochets. I'm going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. And that's row 2. Now for row 3, again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We are again going to place a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're just going to place 1 double crochet in the next stitch. We'll place 2 double crochets in the next. And so we'll be doing 1 and 2 for our repeat. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2. And so what we'll be doing, working all the way around, is stitching 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochets in the next. Like I said, working all the way around this row, and then we'll join back to our chain 3 and chain 3. And again, for any style of coaster that you're making, the first 3 rows is the same. I've stitched my double crochets 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So now I have 30 double crochets. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. Now, if you do not want to have this ridge on your coaster, you can skip this row. All right? But if you want to have this on your coaster, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be working in the front loops, and we're going to stitch a half double crochet in each of the front loops. And if you look at the top of your row, you can see there's a loop on this side and a loop on this side. The loop that is facing you is the front loop. The loop that is away from you is the back loop. So what we're going to be doing is stitching 1/2 double crochet in each of the front loops around, and that's going to give us that nice little edge that helps keep our cup in the center. All right, so yarn over, we'll go in the first front loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. 1/2 double crochet in each of the front loops, working all the way around. And like I already said, if you don't want to have this edge, just fast forward the video to the next row, which would be row 5, because we're doing row 4 now. So I'm going to continue working all the way around, stitching 1/2 double crochet in each of the front loops around, and then I'll join back to that chain 3. I've completed that row of 1/2 double crochets in each of the stitches around, working in the front loops only. And again, you should have 30 1/2 double crochets because we didn't add or subtract any stitches. Now, if you do not want to have the little legs on your pumpkin coaster so that it looks like this one, we can go ahead and cut and tie off our yarn, and then you'll be able to move ahead to the stem and the curl portion of the video or pattern. But if you want to have the little legs just because they're kind of cute, I'll show you how to do that. After we've joined, we're going to chain 2, and now we're going to be working in those back loops. And so what I do is I sort of push it forward, and then I can see that row of back loops on my work. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of push those forward. We're going to go in that first back loop and stitch a slip stitch, and then we'll slip stitch in the next 4. All right, now we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch and chain 2. We're going to place 3 double crochets in this same stitch. We're going to chain 2 and then slip stitch in that same stitch. And now we're going to slip stitch in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our one little foot or hand, and we have 5 slip stitches in between. Alright, so now we'll slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochets in that same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch in that same stitch, and then we'll slip stitch in the next 5. So now we have 2. And so what we'll do is we'll repeat this 2 more times, and we have 4 little hands and feet. So I've repeated this 2 more times, so I now have 4 2 feet and 2 hands, and we've slip stitched in the same slip stitch, and we're just going to slip stitch in the last 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and now we're going to join. We're going to kind of go over that little chain 2 there, or chain 3, and join to that first half double crochet with a slip stitch, and we're going to cut our yarn. Pull that loop to the back and tie off. Alright, so now we have our little pumpkin with our edge if you want it or not, and our 4 little feet if you want them or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to count up from this little arm, because this is the top of our pumpkin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to put our hook in, going through both those loops of that slip stitch, and add our green yarn. There we go. And now we're going to stitch 4 single crochets. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. Let me snug my loop down there. There we go. Then we'll go in the next one. 2. That one's a little snug. There we go. 3 and 4. And it is a little snug because I want to go through both of those loops, not just the one. I think the top of the stem lays better. There we go. So we have 4 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Alright, and now we're going to do what's called stitching single crochets together, or 2 single crochets together, or a decrease stitch. So what we'll do is we'll go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. We'll go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. We'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops, and then we'll do that again. So now we've made our 4 into 2. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to just stitch 1 single crochet in those 2 single crochets, chain 1, turn, and do that again. 1 single crochet in each single crochet. Now, if you don't want the curl on there and you just want the stem, you can tie that off. But if you want the little curl, what I do is I chain 1, and then I stitch a few slip stitches down the side of my stem, usually 3. And then we'll place 1 right in that stitch where we joined. That's a slip stitch. And now I'm going to chain 7. And this is going to be our curl. This way we don't tie off our stem and then rejoin in and have extra pieces of yarn to weave in. It just saves us a step. Alright, so we're going to go in the second chain from the hook and stitch 3 single crochets. And we'll do this in each of the chains, working back to the pumpkin. 3 single crochets in each of the chains. And you'll find before you hardly even get started, it's already going to start to curl on you. And that's what we want it to do. We want it to look like that curly vine when the pumpkin is growing out in the pumpkin patch. Alright, then when we get to that last stitch, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet and cut our yarn. We'll tie off and we'll pull that to the back and we'll weave that in, But if you turn this over, you'll see that you've got a nice little curl for your pumpkin. I'm going to take my needle now and weave those in. And when you're weaving in with this, make sure you stay in the green portion because you don't want any of your green yarn to be showing through onto your pumpkin. As when you do that, it just makes it look a little bit messy. And so I'm just going back and forth in the top of my pumpkin to make sure that those are going to stay put. Alrighty, I'm going to weave these in, and then I'll show you how to add that cute little face if you want it. Now, if you want to make a cute little face, you can do French knots, a smile, whatever you want to do. I kind of went with triangles because I think that's a little more pumpkin-y, but you can do however you want to do it. Just remember, you don't want to have knots or bumps because you want your cup or your glass to be able to sit in your coaster. All right, so I like to start with the nose, and so what I do is I kind of come up halfway, and when you're doing this, make sure you go through stitches and not the holes in between the stitches. All right, so I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to leave just a little bit in the back so I have something to weave in later. All right, so I'm just going to make a little triangle nose. Like I said, you can do French knots or whatever you want to do. And another thing that you can do is make these in the teal color. And when you do them in teal and set them out, it lets people know that have food allergies that you don't have any candy like peanuts and milk products or something, that you've got all approved type candies. And that's something that I didn't know about until last year, that the teal pumpkin lets people know that. You know, if you're out trick-or-treating with your kids and, you know, they have food allergies, it can be really scary. Or if you're at a party or just a get-together, knowing that there isn't anything that's going to harm your child at that party is really nice to know. And I know that peanut allergies are a big thing because a lot of candy does have peanuts in it and nougat and things that are made from almonds. All right, so there's the nose. And then I use the nose to figure out where I want to put my eyes. And remember, if you put them like wide, it's going to make them look a little more scary. If you put them in a little closer, they're going to be a little bit more silly. So it's kind of up to you how you want your pumpkin to look. And I do the eyes the same way I do the nose. And again, making sure you're going through stitches and not the holes, or you'll lose those eyes in between. There we go. If you're going to use these as decoration, you can always use buttons as well. And I've seen some buttons that have the little black triangles and the little pumpkin face mouth that you can use. All right, that's the little eye. And to make the mouth, I usually try to follow in this line right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the mouth just to show you, and then I'll add the other little eye. I try to make the little line that goes across. And your smile can go either way, one way or the other, or all the way. This one I'm just going to do a little half smile. And I'll go right down through this row right here, going through the stitches. There we go. I would prefer my pumpkin to be just a little bit silly. I'm not real big on scary things, but a lot of people like scary jack-o'-lanterns, and that's okay. And I just put a little half smile on this one just for fun. The other one I did going the other direction. And that's how you do the smile. And I'm going to come back and do that other eye now that I've got the smile on there. So you can see that this pumpkin coaster has lots of different options and ways to make it. And I even remembered that I have some reflective yarn in orange, and I think I may have to pull that out.